one of those debates, Chris, that's raged on since it came out in the first place. And there was a study by the British Board of Film Classification. We can come on to some of those findings in a sec. But is it a Christmas film?
Well, Macaulay Culkin says no, and of course he was in Home Alone, which came out
He's a pretty
the same
good
year.
authority on it.
Well, this week he apparently said no, and The Guardian reported this as if to say, well, he's pronounced no. So they took this very seriously, and Home Alone came out in the same year as Die Hard 2. Now, I would say yes. I would say it's the quintessential Christmas movie because he's getting home for Christmas to be reunited with his family. It's all about transformation and redemption. He puts himself through sacrifice in order to be with his family. And it's about redemption. It's almost like a complete, arsenal of this. But also, it's all about the lonely, the lonely, in this case, he's the cop. He's isolated, old-fashioned in some ways, seen to be burnt out, but looking for that moment of grace. And he gets it in order effectively to save Christmas. The entire film is set on Christmas Eve. And it's that whole lesson here about whether you effectively treat Christmas as just another day and it's about business or something more sacred. And then there's that famous scene when Holly, appropriately named, and then attacks the journalist, who of course is exploiting the fact that the children are away. And it finishes with Vaughan Monroe's Let It Snow.
Now, we talked about that survey, pretty much hot off the press, last few days that has come out. Let's have a look at what the British public have said. 44% didn't believe that Die Hard was a Christmas film. 38% defended it as a Christmas film. 5% even choosing it as their favourite, and 17% undecided on its classification. We're talking a little bit about it there, that, Christmas is about coming together, but in the spirit of contest as well. Why is it so divisive?
Well, I think one reason is when it came out, now wait for this, in 1988, in America, it was the summer blockbuster.
Right.
And it came out in February of '89 over here. In 1990, both in the UK and the US, Die Hard 2 was summer blockbusters. So, and they're both Christmas themed. So I think that's what's confused people. It wasn't originally seen as being Christmas specific, but now there are some cinemas, Cineworld, for example, is showing it next, I think, Tuesday. Also, wait for this, a Christmas Eve double bill together with Love Actually. And
it's quite, it is one of those heated debates among many fans, not just Die Hard, but films generally, and whether they do meet that Christmas genre. It's a Wonderful Life, famously, and you've got other films like Violent Night in more recent years that are set at Christmas, but not quite in the spirit of a family Christmas film.
Well, It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas retrospective. Only about a third of the film is set on Christmas itself. It's somebody's life story. I mean, you can say the same about Dickens' A Christmas Carol. A lot of it is one man reviewing his life, but he's doing it in a reverie on Christmas Eve. So the definition of what makes a Christmas movie, I mean, to be honest, a film like Groundhog Day also meets the criteria of Christmas movie, but it's set on the 2nd of February. So the question is, could you have Die Hard set at Christmas or at Easter, and would it be the same film? I'm inclined to say no.
Now, Chris, you've written books on these sorts of topics, on like culture at Christmas, films at Christmas. What drew you to that area of research and that interest in the first place?
Because I always found it really hard to know what Christmas was. People would say it's all about the Nativity, it's all about Jesus. Other people would say it's all about money. Other people would say it's all about family. I once asked some students who were doing religious studies what Christmas meant to them. One of them said going to church, one said clubbing, others said going, meeting family and partying. So in other words, it means different things to different people. And in a way, you look at things like the TV and radio schedules, often they're about having those big blockbuster films. E.T. was premiered on TV, I think in 1990 on TV, Back to the Future, Batman in 1991, just 2 years after the summer blockbuster. So it's associated with all sorts of different things for different people. For a lot of people, and that's why I wanted to study it, it's about bringing people together who are separated, often virtually through radio. So it's a way of saying people need connection, and if they can't find it, then Christmas brings everything into sharp relief. But it's almost like a secular festival, but which is all about transformation and the supernatural, because all these films are about Lapland, not Die Hard perhaps, but a lot of these films involve flying reindeer. And it's almost like we're parking the fact that we don't subscribe to something that is, other than rational at any other point in the year.
So for you, what is your go-to at Christmas? I imagine it's the whole, it's all of the whole host of them. But for you, what is your favourite Christmas film?
I would say, Family Stone increasingly is obvious one that matters. And because Diane Keaton passed away just the other month, and it's a film, she's the matriarch in a family, and they're a very disunited family. We can all relate to that. But the unexpected happens. But it happens in a very small scale, nothing like Die Hard way. And it's just about people who don't normally get on together suddenly through her, and through her passing, her character's passing, suddenly find the meaning of Christmas.
Now, you're talking about the release dates and how that's so essential. One that absolutely blitzed the box office is the sequel to Wicked. Talk a bit about the timing of releases and how it's really... It is the tentpole season for a lot of studios, but also it gets into award season as well. It's a really interesting time.
Yeah, it is, because the cutoff for Oscars is actually in America Christmas Day. Now, Christmas Day here is the one day when the cinemas are closed, as I know from experience. But in America, that's the cutoff for films to be included in the award. Now, last year, Wicked was up for several Oscars. It won Oscars, including, I think, makeup. But it was released right at the end of November. So... normally, a Christmas-themed film will... I mean, actually, I suppose famously, Miracle on 34th Street, the original from 47, Fred Gwynne won the Oscar for Best Actor. But it's unusual for a Christmas film to do well in the Academy Awards. But films released around Christmas, as you say, are often then at the very height of the expectations around award season in the run-up to the Oscars, which are normally around March.
And we've only got a few seconds left, but let's talk a little bit about Wicked and the success that it's had at the box office. We always hear perennially musicals are dead, but it seems they're not. We always see these kind of examples.
And you just got to see the number of people in the cinema. I've seen it twice with my children, and people go along and they love the musical numbers. In a way, it's a renaissance of a genre that, we often think back Mary Poppins or Sound of Music in the mid-1960s. No, I think this is a template also for all those origin stories and spin-offs, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow. They have their own origin stories in this film. So I think this is just the beginning of a whole series of future Wicked iterations.
All the other Christmas films, of course, available, and I'm sure we'll cover them next week when you're back on the show. Chris, thank you very much. But that